We got Troy Walseth, the man, the myth, the legend, also my mentor, and we only get him for a couple of minutes here and there, but when we get him, we got to use his time. So really appreciate you coming on. And
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. He's been selling real estate. Everyone knows that he sells a ton of real estate. That's not why I brought him on today. He has been selling real estate for about 30 years and seen it all. So good guy to go to. But today I wanted to talk about like how you got started in real estate yourself, as far as buying properties, and we'll get into flipping and stuff like that in a minute.
Sure. Yeah.
Just for your own personal, buying properties and accumulating a portfolio. How'd that happen?
Well, I started in real estate, and I went to the people who were selling a ton of real estate, and I just asked them, what do I need to do? What's the best thing to do to get rolling in this business and to make it big in this business? And the first person I talked to, he just said, I'm going to give you the best information you'll ever get. You will never get rich selling real estate. You'll get rich buying it. So I started.
Right.
Yeah, and so I didn't have any money. I had, credit card debt and everything else. But I found a crappy little property, and it was $20,000, and I happened to have a $20,000 limit on my credit card at the time,
gosh.
and I literally put the property right on a credit card. So. Credit card check, pushed it through. Of course, I was probably paying 20% interest, but I ended up flipping that property. So,
that was the down payment. Was that 20?
No, it was $20,000 property.
Okay.
It was a
Right. So
mobile home on a
few
permanent
years ago.
foundation a lot of years ago.
Right.
Yeah, but it was something that I made all kinds of mistakes on it and still made a little bit of a profit on it and turned it. So. And I thought, well, heck, this is easy. Let's go. So it's not that easy.
Right.
But that's how the first one happened. And honestly, like way back in the day, there were a lot of programs and things out there, simple assumptions where you could grab a property without qualifying, as long as it was an FHA loan that originated prior to 1989. You could assume it. You pay them the difference from what they owe to what they're asking, and it's your property. So.
Wow.
And so I accumulated quite a few with that program. Now, obviously, that's gone now. It's so many years later. Most of those homes are paid off, or sold and gone. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I did. Some lower down payment stuff that I purchased and moved into, and then moved to another one and rented that one out. Did some simple assumptions. Traditional bank loans, 20% down, quite a few of those. Yeah. And I bought mostly multifamily, fourplexes, things like that, duplexes, because if you think about it, if you buy a single family home and it goes vacant for a month or two, your income is gone.
Right.
You'll never be able to make that up usually with a loan. So if you buy a 4-unit or 3-unit or 2-unit, if one is vacant, you're still making your mortgage payment. Right. And so those worked well for me to get
safer.
going. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and once I accumulated a bunch of them, I started buying single family stuff as well. So, and don't get me wrong, this is not easy. I got in and out of that business 2 or 3 times. So, bought a bunch of multiplexes. Hated dealing with tenants. They were terrible tenants for the most part.
You hear all those stories.
Yeah. I mean, people trashing your place, won't move out, not paying rent, whatever. So a lot of stories like that. But I sold them all, bought a bunch of simple single-family homes, and then decided that I wanted to, have a bigger life. So I sold some of those properties and started all over several times. But
that's funny that happens, where you basically go through like different stages of your real estate portfolio, where it's like, I don't want to deal with the tenants. What's the easiest way to go? Different things like that. That's
and then I got it in my head. I just came up with something simple. Not that I wrote the script on it, but it's like, look, buy $1 million worth of property, put them on 15-year mortgages. Let your tenants pay them off, and you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
And so I started, and I went from 1 million to 2 million to 4 million, and owned a ton of stuff.
Right.
And again, it's not easy. You know, you got to be super focused about it. You've got to find the deals that make sense, that cash flow, that if you're not buying income, you're going to be in trouble, especially in a market that we're coming into now. So
right. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. You know, they call it passive income, but you know, it's really not so passive when you're dealing with tenants all the time and doing things. Obviously, as you grow your business, you can't start out, you know, hiring a bunch of people to help you with the business.
Yeah.
But over time, you can kind of move into that to where you're not doing everything yourself. Then it becomes a little bit more passive. So the income that you're bringing in, you can use to pay a management service to do that.
Right.
Tell me your story about the management service.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. So we got to the point where it became a full-time job, and it took me completely out of real estate for a while, owning a ton of property. And so I had a business partner at the time. We kind of clumped our properties together and hired a property manager. And we decided that we were going to build our own property management company. So we started with our own property. We hired a lady after interviewing several people and thought she was a spitfire and she was great. And I started seeing some things like taking cash out of one of my accounts because, look, I mean, just give everybody free rein to your accounts. That's smart, right?
Right.
It's not.
Can't trust everyone.
No, you can't. So I started seeing things coming out of my account, and I went to her and I said, look, what's going on here? And she goes, oh, Troy, I'm saving you so much money. I know normally you go to this appliance place, but I'm looking on Craigslist and finding you, pennies on the dollar for your old stuff, and I'm saving you. And I'm like, high five, man, you're awesome. And it just kind of went downhill from there. She wasn't buying appliances, she was pulling money out. And then she started taking cash from tenants, saying that we only accept cash deposits. She was pocketing that. She was also managing all the payments that I had on the properties. And it became a nightmare. So you got to be super careful who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Because it crashed and burned us, honestly. So,
right. So you can't just be completely hands off. Even if you hire other people to do the work,
right.
You kind of have to still be involved in some. I mean, what would you have done differently?
Yeah. So I talked to my wife about it, and she said, "Look, I've got an executive assistant that I trust with my whole world. I would never." Ever give her access to my accounts, ever.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, you learn. Obviously, we learn the hard way. So, yeah, I'm not going to let somebody that I don't know and love and trust in my world into my accounts ever again. And I think that was the biggest mistake we made, giving them free rein. We were both in a position at the time where we needed to hands off and go back to our jobs. I mean, that's where the money was.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
And we needed a property manager. What we probably should have done is interviewed property management companies and instead of just trying to hire our own person.
Right. It seemed like it was working out perfect, and she was doing a great job.
Yeah.
Little did you know.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to watch for. You know, we had a ton of trouble with tenants up front. You become hardened. You have different conversations with them over time. And so there's a lot of things that I would do differently now that I do differently now when I'm putting a renter or a tenant in a property. So
for sure.
And I think you've got to be diligent about checking them out, background checks, and I can give or take the credit report. I know why people run it, but I think that a lot of people are renting for a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe they have decent income, but biggest thing is ability to pay.
Yeah.
I don't much care about a credit report on somebody, but the property management that we're using now runs credit report, background check, everything on every tenant. So
yeah. I think that stuff's super important. It's not something you want to necessarily do. You don't want to pick up the phone and call everyone that they know, but it's super important. You got to call their employer. Do they show up to work on time? Do they do the things they say they're gonna? Are they a trustworthy person? Like all that stuff, you have to find out. And if you don't, you're gonna pay for it.
And you better find out on paper, because I think I know people so well and I can read people so well, and I think I can fix anybody. So it's like I want to give everybody an opportunity. So if I get a good feeling about a tenant, I was putting them in the property. And that's not the way you run a business.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the old saying, check their car, see how they keep their car, and if they don't keep their car well, they're probably not going to take care of your property.
Right. And when they fill out the application, you say, hey, I'm just a few blocks from your house. I'm going to just stop by. I need you to initial something, and you can see how they live. And so
that's a good way to get in.
And it's I don't know that you want to do that on every single one, but maybe you do. It's a process, but
for sure.
But you get the right tenants in there too.
So speaking of property management, sounds like you got a little something in the works, and
we do.
Tell me a little bit about what you have going there.
Yeah, so we've got a company called Azul Bay. This isn't an advertisement. But it's a property management company for vacation rentals and long-term rentals, and so we did this with the lady back in in another life, but we're doing it right this time. So
a little more oversight.
Tons of oversight. I look at everything. My partner Christine looks at everything. So you've got 2 or 3 sets of eyes on everything that happens in the company. So I have a background in investment properties and rental properties, and she's got a background in owning a vacation rental management company. So so we're putting that together and being able to offer that out to our clients.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So if somebody, wants to get started, let's say, they're fresh into it, they don't know much about it, but they want to get started and they want to get that first property, any advice to those type of people?
Yeah, I mean, depending on your situation, everybody's a little bit different, but if I could go back and change some of the things that I did in the past, I'd never sell one of my personal homes.
Right.
I would rent them out.
Yeah.
And, people need that equity to move to the next one. There's all kinds of ways to grab that equity. You can do a HELOC, you can do several different things, but likely right now, if somebody's looking at buying investment property, you're sitting in a house with likely a low interest rate.
Right.
So trying to sell that and buy a couple investment properties or something might not be the answer. It might be keep that property rented out, buy something else.
Right.
Even if you're looking for a new personal home, that might be the move to make. And again, that's not right for everybody, but in a lot of circumstances, we could have done that.
For sure. That's what I've always done. Buy it as your primary, you get the best rate. Live in it for a couple of years, then you move on to another property that and when you're doing it, find a place that could be a potentially good spot to rent too.
Absolutely.
So you're buying these properties as your primary, you're getting the best rate. You're living them for a while. Hopefully, you're kind of fixing up the big things that you'll need to take care of anyway. And then you got another property to rent.
Yeah, you got a great point there. And, a lot of people get so ultra focused on making their life perfect in that next house, their forever house. Man, if you're really after the investment side of it, buy that perfect house with an in-law suite or something that you can rent 2 units when you do finally move on.
Yeah, so. I'm getting pretty good at a garage conversion. I know you're not ever wanting to convert the garage because you're a car guy, but definitely for me it's worked out really well. We did that conversion on ours, and now we're renting it out for $1,000 a month, and probably could get more, but rents are going to go up over time, and I think, and then when you move, you have 2.
Oh yeah, that's an amazing side of things because don't do what I do, do what I say. Let's just because I keep the garages on my stuff for a different reason, but garage space converted is worth more per square foot than having an actual garage in almost every case in our area. So
for sure.
You get a lot of money back out of that.
Yeah, so, and then the other cool thing is obviously you build all that equity. Now your home's worth more, and then you can pull that back out like you just said. You pull that equity out. Now you got a down payment on another one.
Right.
But the cool thing about it is that money you're pulling out, it's not taxed. We're out here selling houses, working hard to make money, and all that's going to be taxed at a pretty high rate.
Yeah.
But you build that equity. That money is money you get to pull out. And you ultimately don't pay taxes.
You pull it out and use it as long as you don't sell it.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, if you sell it, you've got either short-term or long-term gain.
Right.
that you've got to pay capital gains on unless you do a 1031 exchange. Well, if you're going to do a 1031, why not keep that property, pull the money out, and buy your next one?
Exactly. And now, you know, you have 10 properties or 20 properties that are all going up, you know, and that, I mean, it's compounding and it happens really fast as you,
it does.
as you know. So.
Yeah. You can have that goal. You know, if you're after investment property, you want to really make that work. Set a goal, write it out, decide what you're going to do and when. You know, I love to see people on our teams buy their first home. If they don't already own it, within 24 months. 24 months after that, they should buy their first property. 24 months after that, they should sell the home they're in, buy their or keep the home they're in, rent it out, and buy another home for themselves. Definitely. And so, you know, you get 5, 6, 7 years down the road, our team members are millionaires. They own. You know, that's in a perfect world. That's what I would love to see everybody on our teams do.
Absolutely. So, I think, I mean, you think about all the people that over the last 2 years, how much equity they built just in their one primary home, you know.
Right.
You have, you know, you start adding them up, now you got 2 or 3, and then that becomes more than your income. You know, the equity that you're building, and then you're like, okay, I'm working because I enjoy, or I find a job that I really do enjoy, and I don't work with, you know, the 9 to 5 that, you know, that you have to. So.
Yeah, when you're cycling through buying your first investment property or your 7th investment property, people should be looking at what is my nut to crack every month, how to live the life that I want to live right now, or what it costs me to live every year right now. How do I replace that with investments and rental properties? And so you just get started and you replace that income, and pretty soon you have mailbox money, as we call it. Like, it's just, it comes in, it takes care of all your life expenses, and plus your tenants are paying off your property for you, and you're hopefully gaining equity because the market's going up. So you get so many benefits, so many write-offs. You can depreciate these property to get rid of your tax outlay. Just a ton of stuff that you can do. Big benefits in owning.
In real estate for sure. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, you're making 50, 60 grand a year, and then all of a sudden you're making 50, 60 grand a year in rental income. Plus, it's going up, you know, a 40-year average of 5% a year, and the tenant's paying the property off for you. All residual income, and at some point it's all paid off, unless you want to compound that, borrow money against it again and do it all over again.
Exactly.
So,
either you know, 15, 30 years, you know, you have it all paid off, and now your income is gigantic, right? Or, like you say, you leverage again. And the leverage piece, for me, is why real estate is so much different than any other asset. You know, any other way to build wealth. Because, you know, in the stock market, you need 20,000, and you put that in on a stock, and then you're only making money from the 20,000.
Exactly.
Whereas if you take that 20,000 and buy an asset, you know, that's worth, let's say, 400.
Now you've got 400,000 working for you. There is no investment out there. Fight me, all of you. There's no investment out there that's better than real estate.
I would agree, and I think it you know, the fastest way to build wealth.
Absolutely.
And, you know.
Well, you're doing it the right way. You're buying income. You're buying properties. I mean, it's amazing what you're doing.
It's been fun, and hopefully we can continue to keep doing it. I think there's, you know, tremendous amount of opportunity right now.
Definitely.
Whereas, you know, you've got a lot of people that are doing, you know, we'll get into it in a minute, but Troy's done a ton of flips as well, and you know, I'm, you know, starting to get into that space right now. But what I've noticed is that there's people that are kind of doing those, and they're slowing down. So maybe they were doing, you know, 2 or 3 those properties are maybe sitting on the market a little longer than they had thought when they bought those
nervous.
properties. So now there's opportunities for you know, newer people that, you know, couldn't really get into it, and, you know, buy those properties and, you know, kind of get into the mix. So tell me about your experience.
Well, I mean, people are a little afraid right now, and I think that's when the opportunities are. It's like you can find opportunity in any market. You've got to be careful because you're going to have to put some holding costs in because they might not sell on day one. it might sell on day 21,
right.
or day 31.
Right.
You know, so you've got to work that into your numbers, and don't get freaked out about it. The market is still good. It's still hot. So anytime I look at a property, I'm always looking at, you know, what's in the client's best interest, obviously, to retail it or to wholesale it or to, you know, buy it, fix it up. You know, we run into a lot of properties like that need to be rehabbed or fixed up. And so we can bring in investors that we work with that will purchase the property as is, make it short and sweet for that client. Or if they're looking for top dollar, and let's be real, not everybody is. You've got to give them those options of, listen, we can retail your property. This is about what you'd net, or we could get an investor in here to make you a cash offer. Likely no inspections, close quickly, move whenever you want, no showings to deal with, no nothing.
Yeah.
And I won't say that there's a better way. I just it's up to them. And so we do offer a lot of people that option. And and it's where we find some of our properties that we're going to flip. And it's, you disclose everything. Listen, I'm going to fix this property up, and likely I am going to make a profit. Hopefully I'm going to make a profit. So,
right.
But it's just disclosing it to them, and sometimes they pick the easier route.
Yeah.
And so it's a great way to turn and burn properties if you don't want to hold them.
Right.
But I know you and I both look at, can I rent it?
Yeah.
And how much? What's my return? And can I flip it?
Yeah.
Can I fix it up, do some top-notch stuff in the home, and make a profit on it? And how much profit do I want to make?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. It comes down to the seller. What's important to them is
Right.
it the speed of which that I can get my hands on that cash to do something else, or am I okay? Basically waiting to get top dollar.
Yeah.
And then we have some other options. Obviously we can get an investor in there to pay cash and make it easy. We can basically, do all the staging, get them at top dollar that they possibly can.
Yeah.
If there is some work that needs to be done on the property, we also have other options too if they want.
We do.
Yeah. So you want to?
Yeah. So I'll tee that up. We've got a program on our team that if somebody doesn't necessarily have the cash to do some fix-ups that might gain them a good chunk of money, we're willing to upfront that money for them. Up to $15,000 per property, 100% zero interest to them, and we'll hold it until closing. There's some inside stuff, that we look at. They've got to have a certain amount of equity. But we'll do it free, and we'll help them with that. We'll talk to the clients. We'll talk to the contractors, get the work completed for them, and it's got to be something that looks like it's worthwhile. Like if I'm going to put up $15,000, I want to make the customer 25, or something like that.
Yeah, we would make sure, obviously, that it makes sense to do it.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're going to make money on it, so that's transparent.
Right.
We're trying to get them more money by fixing it up. And in this market, things are sitting a little longer, so we want our property to look better than the one next door, the one around the corner.
Exactly.
So that's the reason why we have that opportunity.
Yeah, and that's so important right now because we do have active competition for a lot of the homes that we're listing. And so if we can do this for our clients and help their house shine over top of their competition, it's going to get them more money.
Right.
So, and it's going to be a benefit for everybody.
Yeah,
so,
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So
Troy, it's been awesome. I know you got to run to an appointment, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. But
hey, anytime, I appreciate it. So,
we'll have to do it again soon for sure.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
all right,
Troy.
Man.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. See ya.
Yeah, sorry.